babes, it's Bimini and we are back with a brand new episode of The Pieces. And this week we are joined by psychologist, author and trans trailblazer, Dr. Jamie Rains. Dr. Jamie Rains, how are you doing?
Oh, wow, I've never been introduced as Dr. Jamie Rains before. That feels very professional.
Well, you should be.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. How have you been?
Yes, good. Surviving the heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's clammy, but we move. Well, I want to go into it because I feel like you are just someone that I think is just, a voice that we need. And I think it's so important, the work that you do. And I also think you're like quite sassy sometimes. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, in the best way. In the best way. You're just like, no bullshit.
I'll
which
take
I think
that.
is good. Yeah, it's really, really good. But I want to start from the beginning for you. So you kind of had awareness from the age of 4, is that right?
Yeah.
About
Yeah, I just thought I was one of the boys. I guess at that age, you don't really realize the differences.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were always very like chill with gender norms and expression. And I was just like, yeah, I'm a boy. Great, wonderful. And then I got older and I was like, oh dear. Yeah. And then things got more complicated the older I got. And then I didn't realize what trans meant until I was 16. So it was quite a long time between kind of knowing and knowing, if you know what I mean.
So had you been saying that you were one of the boys at that age?
From when I was like 4, it was kind of something I think I implicitly just accepted about myself. And then gradually society was like, no, you're not. What are you talking about? No. And then I was hearing how people were referring to me and treating me. And I was like, oh, I don't understand what's going on here. And it was all very confusing.
It is confusing because I remember being that age and going through something similar, but in the sense of like being told I was gay, not knowing what that was, but also wanting to do all the things that the girls were doing and being kind of shamed for that. I think shame is such a big, so we'll get into the shame as well because I think that's a big one to cover. Having parents, I think, is so important with that. It's very lucky. How was that for you? Like with your parents, how were they supportive? Because you said about the gender roles.
Yeah, they've always just been so chill about it. I'm very grateful. And I think I wish it's something that every LGBTQ plus person had. It's such a shame when parents aren't, but mine were always so just fine with everything. I came out as a lesbian first, which was really weird to say now. And they were both just like, okay, sure. Like there was literally nothing said about it. And then I was a little bit more nervous about trans things because I'd heard them speak about like having gay friends in the 80s and everything. So I was pretty sure they'd be like open to me being gay. But then when I came out as trans, there was a bit of hesitation, but they were fine. They were just like, okay, cool. I just want you to be happy.
I think having support is so important, having that network. And you also met your partner pre-transition, is that correct?
Yeah, we were best friends for like a year before I came out. And then we got together a few months after I came out as trans. That was, it's interesting.
That's a beautiful thing. But I think I wish that, like you said, LGBTQ plus people all had that support network.
Yeah, it's so important. It really makes such a huge difference in people's lives just to have one supportive person.
What can we do? What do you think we could do to push for that? I think like it's more conversations like this, I guess, actually.
Yeah.
More conversations where parents and people that are listening can just, see that it's okay and it's normal.
Yeah, and it's better to have a happy LGBTQ plus kid than to not have your kid in your life. And like your child is going to be gay or trans regardless of whether you accept them with it. Is your acceptance can help make them happier and make them like figure things out sooner and be more comfortable with themselves sooner. But it's not going to change who they are for better or for worse. So I think it's humanizing the experience.
Humanizing the experience is so important, especially with the media. Like how do you deal with any kind of negativity in a sense, like with people commenting on like the things that you post?
Yeah, I think I had to develop a really thick skin. I remember getting my first hate comment like I don't know how long ago I started, like 14 years ago now. And it made like my heart really race. I was like, oh my God, people hate me. And then I realized like you could go on the internet and literally do nothing and just sit in front of the camera and people are going to say hateful things. So I actually find it way easier when people are transphobic than if they come at me personally. If they come at me for like something about my personality or the way I look, that's when I get a bit offended.
Yeah.
But transphobic stuff just over the years has become really like normalized, which is kind of sad in a way.
It's really sad because I also just don't think that we should be allowed to comment negative stuff to people. I just don't know why we've got to a place in society on the internet where that's acceptable.
Yeah, and a lot of the platforms aren't quite doing enough at all. And some of them are doing like very bad things for that. But people are always going to have something to say behind a keyboard. It's that anonymity that helps people feel like they can say whatever they want, which can both feel like a good thing and a bad thing. Because it's like, well, this person wouldn't say it to me, to my face. Like the amount of transphobia I get online compared to in real life is incomparable. So part of me is just like, well, maybe they're just really sad and they want to hate on somebody because what do they say? Like, hurt people hurt people.
It's so true. I think they're like the Daily Mail commenters. Like, who's got time to comment on every Daily Mail article? I remember going on one and seeing that, clicking on one of the profiles to just have a look, and they'd commented on 4,200 posts on the Daily Mail. I just thought, get a day job.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous. And it's like hateful comments all the time.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. I think that's what I say about transphobes. I'm like, I can't imagine what kind of life that must be like. It's horrible. It makes me feel better because I'm just like, you're just hating on me because you feel like you've got nothing better to do. So I can't take it personally. And like, I know you're not going to say this to anybody in real life because you're just sat there behind a keyboard, but it still doesn't make it okay.
Doesn't make it okay, but you're right. Like, they're not going to say it in real life. It's a cowardly way to do it, I think. I remember seeing one of your videos though, when you were like going for a blog post, I think it was, and you were like dissecting it from word for word and like going through it. I just thought that was so cool.
I just don't know where people get this stuff from. I find that kind of thing quite funny. Like somebody did a really weird review of my book as well at one point, and it was just really interesting the leaps people make, like trying to diagnose me with stuff, trying to make assumptions about things. So I kind of like it's content, isn't it?
It's content, but also like weren't they trying to really push the fact that you had anxiety pre-transition?
Yeah, and then they thought I had a fear of blood. That's like, okay.
And that must be why.
That's why I'm
outrageous.
trans.
They like ignore every other possibility of why somebody's trans and their experience. And they're like, oh, they're anxious. That's why.
Yeah.
I just found it so ridiculous. But the way that you dealt with it was just really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Talking about your book?
Yes, my book. That was a fun process to write. It's something I'm really proud of, actually. I think the idea of it was to put like my YouTube video style into one place, because I think YouTube videos and like social media stuff isn't always accessible to everybody. So it's like, maybe this can reach people who prefer reading, or parents, or people who want to buy it and give it to somebody in a more accessible form than sending a bunch of videos. So that was the idea behind it, and just having a lot of trans voices in there, because my perspective is one very specific perspective that cannot encapsulate at all the whole trans experience. So I wanted to make sure that people could pick it up and be like, oh, I can see myself in at least some of this.
Was there a particular chapter that was hard to write, or something that stood out that you remember?
There were two that were the hardest to write. One was when I was going into like acceptance, and I was speaking about my wife's family and the experience we had with that, because initially they were very not accepting, which was a far worse experience for my wife, because she was kind of disowned and kicked out and didn't have contact with her family for quite a while. But then things did like a complete flip, and her mum helped us plan our wedding, which was fantastic. It's been really lovely growth. But that was quite hard to like revisit the darker times, because I think it's quite easy to forget them, especially when things move in a more positive direction. The other one that was hard to write was about my lower surgery, because that was not a fun time. And it was just really weird to relive that. That was the most difficult bit about the book. And then just making sure that I handled everything properly, like all the factual stuff.
So with the the not accepting, I feel like that's so deep rooted with shame in society. It's such a systemic issue. I think that's deep rooted. Shame is everywhere. And I think that is what stops a lot of people just being accepting. And whether it's used with religion or whatever the guise it is used by, I feel like that's something that we need to tackle.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think a lot of it comes from like the perceptions of others, especially when you see parents really not being able to accept their kids. Part of that, and what I've seen it be, is like, what am I going to tell the family? What are the family going to think? What are our friends going to think? What are these other people going to think? Like, how are you going to go out in public like this? You know, what are people going to think of you? Oh my gosh. And it's that kind of spiral of people not taking a second to be like, hey, wait, but do I actually feel okay about this?
Yeah.
Or am I just focusing too hard on being worried about other people? So I think you're absolutely right. If we can tackle that shame and embarrassment element that people feel about it, I think we could make some progress.
Like my mum, that was what she was worried about when I first came out as gay and then started doing drag and experimenting with my gender. She was more worried about what society and what people were going to treat me like than how she felt about it. Yeah. And now she's so supportive. So I'm very lucky for that.
I had a similar thing with my mum, but she was incredibly supportive with just I just want to make sure you're happy. And I'm scared for you. I'm scared for what society is going to think of you and how they're going to treat you. And if you're going to be able to find a job and find love. And it wasn't coming anywhere from her. She wasn't worried about what people thought of her. She was just like, I just want you to be safe and happy. So that was her only like reservation, I guess. But I can see what you're talking about.
But that's again, it goes to society, isn't it? Like that's a shame that we feel more worried about other people, how they're going to treat people. Like what can we do? What can we do more of?
Oh, I don't know.
What can we do? Because I don't know. Like I feel like just being visible is hard, and I also think like nowadays it's getting worse. It's getting harder. Like everyone's like, why do you have Pride? Why do you have these events? It's like we need them.
Yeah. Yeah. Although there was a straight Pride in America that was a total flop, so that made me happy. But I think Prides are really important. I think now it's really difficult. Like in my lifetime, now is the biggest pushback I've ever seen against trans people in particular, but the whole community. And like, if you're cis and LGB and you're being transphobic, why? I kind of see it as like, it's a really dark time right now, but it's like a wave and we're kind of getting to that peak and it's going to crash. And the reason why it started in the first place is because we were making progress. It's because we were getting more representation and more visibility, and it scared people. And I think when that wave crashes, we'll see that kind of uptick in progress again.
But I feel like if it continues, it's dehumanizing trans people to the point where people just don't see them as valid existing people in society, and it's worrying.
Yeah, I feel like there's among some people, especially people who've never met a trans person, because if you know a trans person, you're like twice as likely to be trans accepting.
Totally.
But there's such a view of like, oh, the trans community is like this kind of monolithic thing that people should be scared of. And it's like, just meet a trans person. Just speak to a trans person. Honestly, we just want to pee and live our lives and have healthcare. That's all I want in life.
Piss and peace. That's literally it. So with the T and LGBT, what do you hope a trans teen feels when they are reading this for the first time?
I guess not alone.
Yeah.
Because I found it to be a really lonely time of my life. I didn't know any other trans people. It took me ages to accept myself and kind of accept that like, this is just another way of being human. This is fine. So I really hope that a trans teen could pick up that book and be like, yeah, I'm not alone. And there is hope in my future and I can live my life as who I am.
Love that. I almost feel like a lot of the time when there's a pushback or people use religion as a view or anything, I believe it's a spiritual thing. You know, being trans is a spiritual thing. It's existing in the wrong body and knowing that because your soul is telling you that you are in the wrong body. You need to live authentically and to be happy. This is what you need to do. And I think if a lot of religions believe in spiritual aspect, and I think it proves it. I don't know. I feel like that's my theory anyway.
Well, I feel like there's a whole theory that God doesn't make mistakes as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just think the biggest proof that trans people exist and are valid is that we exist. Like, why I wouldn't choose to be trans if I could choose not to be, especially in current times. And the process of transitioning as well isn't easy. It's not easy to access. People aren't doing that for like giggles, you know? It's serious. And
for people that are like maybe listening that don't know, like what is the process of transitioning like in the UK?
It's very long. Mm-hmm. So most of the clinics are NHS, but they're like disgustingly underfunded. And I think the longest wait time at the minute for a first appointment, this is just to speak to a doctor at a gender clinic, not even to get any kind of prescription, is I've had like 6 years to get a first appointment. And that's literally just if people need support with their gender and how they feel about that and they want to talk to somebody, it's taking them that long. And it's really, people's mental health is suffering during that wait. And even private clinics, which are inaccessible to a lot of people because of the expense, they have longer wait lists now than they did when I transitioned. because I remember the waitlist for NHS clinics being about 1.5 years when I started my transition.
Which is still long.
But compare that to 6 years.
Yes,
and then you've got waits in between appointments, and then you've got waits for referrals and waiting lists for surgery and various different things. It just takes people, I'd say, like over a decade to go from that first referral to if they wanted like top surgery and stuff.
And statistically, we know that wait is not good for trans people.
No.
It's like insidious that it's allowed to be that long. It's like it's purposeful.
Yeah, sometimes you can't help but feel that it is, because there's so much literature out there. I mean, you can get it anecdotally just by speaking to trans people, but like all the major medical boards support the gender-affirming approach. That is the healthcare, that is the treatment. If you are trans, you should be able to access gender-affirming care. And people who do show a really big increase in their well-being. It's like, why don't we want people to be happier? Literally, you can see it on paper. The regret rate is so low, and the increase in like positive mental health is so big. The pros way outweigh any cons of just allowing people an easier path to transitioning.
But this isn't shown in the media, I don't think. And what is shown in the media is this idea that someone will wake up one day and just say, oh, I am a girl, I am a woman, I am a man. And they think that that's it. That's how they transition.
Yeah, and it's like a conveyor belt. You go into a little trans factory, you come out, everything done, peachy, lovely.
It's insane to think that, and especially with how it is now. Because I knew it was long then, but I know now it's even longer. And it's just, well, that needs to change. That needs to be fought for. I think like access to healthcare is so important.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. And it's a basic human right to access the healthcare that you need. And trans kids in particular are in a really tough spot right now in the UK and the US, like multiple places around the world, just not even being able to access healthcare because there's this big panic of like, oh, 5-year-olds are getting surgery. And it's like, they're not. They're just allowed to be themselves, you know? Yeah. Like, let's just let people be happy. I don't know.
So, yeah, it's crazy. Because we created these roles of like gender in a way, like with clothing and everything. And I think like a lot of parents that allow their kids to wear what they want to wear from a young age are seen as like, oh, you're pushing a certain agenda on them. It's like, no, I wanted to wear a dress. Like I was wearing the purple velvet dress. Like I had a rota. Like I was like putting them, but then as I got older, I understood that wasn't what I should be doing because people were telling me I shouldn't, you know? Yeah. It was people telling me that I was wrong from like the age of 5.
And that's the shame again, isn't it? And that's their shame instilled on you as a child.
I'm like, and let me dance to Britney.
Exactly. I just don't get why people are so scared of it, because who does it hurt that a kid wants to express themselves? Because we're not born hateful. We're not born with these gender roles in our minds. So if a kid would prefer to wear heels and a dress, why not? Why not? Just because you think that they should be kicking a football around.
Yeah.
That's your preconceived idea of how people should be.
And actually, if you want to go through history, heels were originally for men.
They were. Exactly. Have you seen the Regency period? Yeah. How the men dressed?
Yeah.
Nowadays that would be considered incredibly feminine, and like a guy would get teased for that. But go back a few hundred years and it's perfectly acceptable. Just like pink used to be the colour for boys.
Let's go positive. Were there any affirming moments in your journey, like that was like just a moment of proper euphoria?
There's several. Yeah. I think the biggest one is when I got my gender recognition certificate and I changed my birth certificate. I remember it was like 2019. I'd applied, and it's not a fun application process to get a GRC. It feels a bit dehumanizing, but we move on from that. And we got back from a trip, and there was just like this, like, you know, the formal brown envelope, and I was like, oh, what's this? And it was just this certificate being like, here's your new birth certificate that says male, and it's got Jamie on it. And that, like, I cried at that, and that was the moment for me when all that weight lifted off my shoulders, and I was like, I'm done. Like, this is it for me. Not everybody sees like a finite point of the transition, but for me, I was like, I'm good. This is it. And yeah, that was like the biggest moment for me.
That must have been. It must have just been such an affirming time. I love that.
Yeah. It meant I could get married as a man and do, well, marriage, death and taxes. That's what it impacts.
Which again is it's interesting to say the least. But long-term relationship with Shabba?
Yeah, Shaba, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's like, you've been, obviously we spoke about it pre-transition, but like, yeah, getting married and having that support, I think is, again, so beautiful. But like, it just shows, it's, I don't know, your existence like defies the idea that they, like the TERFs and people try to push, I think.
Yeah. Well, they try and push that trans men are like lost little girls who've been sucked in by male privilege and all of this stuff. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
It's just bad. I'm just living my life. And it's kind of funny in a way to read some of the stuff they write because it is absolutely balmy, but also miserable.
What does emotional growth look like in a relationship?
That's a deep question.
Yes.
I mean, I always see like communication as really key to that process and being able to grow as an individual while still growing together and having that independence from one another while still being together. I don't know if that's what you were getting at with the question.
No,
sorry.
it's important. No, I think it's important. I think I've definitely had relationships over the years that haven't had that communication in a way, even though we were always together. So maybe we were together so much. So I think, yeah, having that kind of base for yourself is important.
Yeah, and maintaining your sense of self, even in that relationship, which can be quite an interesting process. Because I've been with my wife since we were 17. It's been interesting because you can both see that we've grown individually, but also together. It's nice. It's lovely. Yeah.
That is beautiful. That is lovely. I want to talk about online life.
Sure.
Over 1 million subscribers.
Total accident. No idea how that
insane,
happened.
Isn't it? That's so good.
It's kind of scary. Yeah. I remember thinking I hit 98 subscribers because I started my channel in 2011. And I remember nearly getting 100. And I turned to Shab and I was like, no, that's it. I'm scared. No, there's too many people watching these videos. I can't do it. I'm going to take it all down. I'm glad I didn't, but I never imagined where it would end up.
How do you hold space for education while protecting your own peace?
I guess I don't. I guess that line is incredibly blurred now. I think I set down like boundaries of what I would and wouldn't talk about. And I have kind of stuck to those mostly. Certainly in like later years, things are a lot less personal to me. But in terms of protecting my mental health and not getting lost in all the hate, it's hard because I kind of feel like it's my job. And if a big thing happens, like with the Supreme Court ruling, I felt an obligation to speak about it. But at the same time, even just reading about it was making me very upset and scared. So there's a weird balance. Yeah.
Quickly on the Supreme Court ruling, the idea that like you would have to use female bathrooms as a man is the opposite of what they're trying to do.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
So interesting because I do think the trans men were left out of the conversation. Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to hold a lot of space for the trans women who got the brunt of it. But at the same time, it's like you're seeing these TERFs celebrating with champagne outside the Supreme Court to be like, yeah, we're protecting women's rights. It's like you've literally done the opposite because you've just shat on all women, particularly trans women and all trans people. And you are now making it easier for any man to go in the women's because he'll just say he's a trans man.
Exactly.
I mean, what predatory cis man is pretending to be a woman?
And that's what they were trying to say.
It doesn't happen. There's literally research to show it doesn't happen.
It's like as if they're trying to protect women at all. That's what they're saying. And also, if you look at certain people, I'm not going to name their name, but like if you look at certain people's Twitter and they say they're trying to protect women, well, why are they not talking about anything else? Other than trans women? Yeah. Like it's sick at this point.
Yeah, it's devoid of actual any feminism. It is just transphobia, and to make themselves feel better. They're being like, oh no, I'm doing it for a good reason. There's a good cause. I know people are shouting at me, but it's for feminism. I genuinely think some of them believe they are doing good because that's how lost they are in the brainwashing.
They're not talking about domestic violence. They're not talking about sexual assault, anything like that. They're just talking about people in the bathroom or trans. Like it's not focused around that.
Yeah. And there's so many cis women being like, excuse me, could you please put your money and efforts to things that actually affect us? And it is not bathrooms.
Kate Nash, have you heard Kate Nash's Germ? I love that.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
Good. What do you say to people? Like, this is one that I find just wild, but what do you say to people who still reduce trans lives to debates?
I mean, it's like human rights aren't up for debate. Like people's lives are not a debate. And even people who are really level-headed can come out with that line of, but both sides, there's hurt and anger on both sides, and it's like, sides of what? Like what sides? You've got trans people who just want to live their lives and deserve equal human rights, and then you have people who are against that. There cannot be two sides. There is just that is one of the situations where it's like there's right and there's wrong, and what is right is to stand up for human rights, and what is wrong is to fight against them. Especially
already marginalised. I often remember when it was starting to become prominent, and like people like Piers Morgan or whatever were having these conversations, but like there was no trans people in the conversations.
Yeah, and you hear TERFs being like, "We're being silenced. So we can't speak about this." What? And they're saying that whilst on a national morning TV show where there are no trans people present, and they're talking about a trans topic. And how many TERFs have published books about trans people? Why are we listening to people who are not part of the community that are being spoken about, especially when they're coming out with such strong, stark, negative views that are not supported either anecdotally by the trans community or by the research or by medicine? It really baffles me. And I think it's just because they have been allowed this platform.
Yeah, well, they have. And I think, certain figures have enhanced that. And I think it shows that real money, if you throw money at anything, you can just change laws. So I want to go into allyship, because I think that is very important now more than ever. What does actual allyship look like for you in 2025?
It really varies, because I think a lot of people think that to be a good ally, you need to like be attending prides and like protesting and doing all of this stuff. And it's just about, it can be as simple as showing up for the LGBTQ plus people in your life and just showing that you're not going to laugh at that transphobic joke, or you're going to share a tweet that supports, let's not talk about Twitter. You're going to share something on social media that is supportive of trans rights. It can be little things like that, and just not accepting transphobia in your bubble. And then it can be like signing petition, donating, and showing up to trans prides and being more prominently active. So anywhere from just supporting one individual person in your life to speaking out on a larger platform if you have one is allyship. I think we're currently in a state where it's not good enough to just be like, yeah, support trans community and then nothing else, and actually no showing of that. There needs to be some kind of like, from even a tiny thing, just doing something that shows that and supports those words.
And there are ways to do that. There are petitions. There are easy ways you can just do it at home.
Yeah.
And share that petition on social media. Just show that, like, you're there for the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I remember, like, with a lot of people that would come to, like for example, like drag brunches, when they were, like, the height of everything. And it was so busy with a certain demographic, and they're no longer there. And it was like you were enjoying a part of like queer culture, but now it's getting more difficult. You're not there. And it feels like, well, performative for one. And secondly, like we don't want that. If you're going to come to the spaces, you need to like respect the performers, respect queer people, but also understand that for queer liberation, it's liberation for all of us. And when the trans community are under attack right now, we need allyship from everyone more than ever.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think you do see people who are showing up for things and saying things and doing little things when it benefits them, or when it feels cool, or when they're getting praised for it. But as soon as it flips, everybody, like all those people disappear. And it's a real shame. But I think unless you are a white, cis, middle class or above man in this society, you should not be punching on any marginalized community. I mean, you shouldn't, even if you are a white, cis, middle class man. But those are the only people who are going to benefit from the kind of mindset that this current transphobia is coming from, because it will just move on.
There's always going to be something next.
Yeah.
Worrying. How can people with platforms make real change, real material change?
I think it's just speaking out, just sharing. And if you can't find the words yourself, it's uplifting trans people who've already said what needs to be said, because there's so many trans people out there online putting themselves out there, speaking about it. Just take your pick, like close your eyes, point, choose one, uplift them, share when they're speaking about what you can do to like kind of support the trans community in light of Supreme Court ruling and the EHRC guidance and things like that. And just amplify those voices, because trans voices are getting like shut down right now and not listened to. So if you as a cis person have a platform, but you don't have the words, you can always use your platform to uplift a trans person's words. And I think that's really powerful.
When was the last time you truly felt free in your body?
Free in my body? Oh, I don't know.
For me, it's like when I think a lot of the times when I go to a queer space, I like to go to nightclubs. I like listening to dance music and being like free in those moments, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, because so much of this trans stuff at the minute centers around bathrooms, it's when I can use a bathroom that's like gender neutral or where it's in a queer space. So like I don't have to feel awkward about how does it sound if I'm peeing sitting down and then using toilet roll and all of this stuff and just feeling like people might be looking at me. And even 14 years in, I still have little moments like that. But when I'm in a space with other trans people in particular, it's just like, oh, I don't like, that's not a worry. And then I realize how much I do worry about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize that it's always this constant little niggle until you're in a space where you don't have to think about it.
And for people listening to that, like imagine that, like going to a toilet is worry. It's in the back of your mind for trans people right now. It's just, it's so shameful that the media has allowed that. Because I think media is a big problem. I mean, that's something that I think they get wrong. But what else do you think the media gets wrong about trans people?
Most things. Pretty much everything at the minute. I think they were really peddling a lot about detransition and regret. I remember a couple of years back, there were loads of articles that were like, and this one really targeted trans men, and it was like hundreds of girls returned to birth sex after regretting transition. And they make it sound really scary by using like absolute figures when if they put that in percentages, it's like 0.5% of people who transition have some regrets, but a majority of those regrets are related to them not having support in their lives and they later transition again. Yeah. Like if they actually told the truth about this situation, then we would have so much more progress for the trans community. But they like snapshot. I mean, it's what they do with a lot of things, isn't it? They just take little snippets and run with it.
I wish that they highlighted that more people regret having Harry Potter tattoos than it is to transition.
That would be brilliant. I think that's one of my most popular reels on Instagram, actually. Yeah. But that's a permanent body change.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I want to talk about that one. Okay, so last question. This has been actually really amazing. I think like your voice and you, like I said, no bullshit. You're just matter of fact. And I think it's so important to have your voice. So thank you.
Thank you.
If every Pieces listener could take one thing into their life after this episode, what should it be?
That feels like a big responsibility. I think on the topic of trans things, if you're not sure, listen to a trans person, get to know a trans person or watch a trans person online. Just kind of allow a trans person to be humanized to you if they haven't already been.
I love that. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for coming to the Pieces. This has been a beautiful episode and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.